Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we're going to be doing a reading and travel vlog. I went on a girls' vacation with two of my best friends, 𝗖cie and 𝗁. 𝗁ie's been on my channel before, so I'll link our prior girls' trip in the cards. Usually our trips consist of going to one of our homes, and this time it was actually 𝗁ie's turn to host us. Well, her wonderful parents who live on Martha's Vineyard. We actually went for Labor Day weekend, and while it was a bit busy, it was a very great mini vacation. But first is travel time, and that means reading time, of course. On my departing flight, I started into The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by 𝗖cie his𝘁𝗰𝘁. This is actually going to be for a 5x5 coming out in October, so keep your eyes peeled for a full review in the future. It was a book that was annotated for me by another one of my best friends, Kat, meaning the reading experience was so much better. This book tends to get compared to House in the Cerulean Sea a lot, so of course I was ecstatic to finally pick it up. Plus, I'd heard a lot of positive things about the romance in this one and that it had a few of my favorite tropes. It started so well too. We follow Mika, this witch who unfortunately is quite lonely and makes videos online of her magic, but most people think it's just video effects. However, she is actually asked to come and teach these three witch children at a mysterious house. Big issue being that Mika has always been taught that witches shouldn't congregate as it gathers too much magic and causes chaos. But she's so charmed by this strange little family, she decides to try it anyway. I think I was about 120-ish pages in by the time I landed in New York, and 𝗁ie picked me up and we were immediately on the road to Boston. It's been over a year since I had last seen 𝗁ie in person, so we spent nearly that entire drive catching up, talking about anything that popped up, which of course included books naturally. We also drove on the Merritt, which is one of the oldest parkways that is very scenic, and then unfortunately we did arrive in Boston pretty late, so we basically got dinner and then just passed out at 𝗁ie's apartment. We then had a very early start on Saturday, and after a pit stop for coffee because your girl needed it, we headed to the coast to grab a ferry for the island. I probably could have gotten some reading in, but instead 𝗁ie and 𝗁ie introduced me to Noah Khan, who has since been at the top of my Spotify playlist. Once on the island, we were greeted by a million geese. I swear to God, it was kind of terrifying. And a beautiful shore view as well. And God bless 𝗁ie, because after we settled in, she took us on a quick tour of the town, and that included our first bookstore. Though the beach atmosphere definitely tempted me toward a romance, I surprisingly ended up going with Close to Shore, which is actually a nonfiction book about the shark attacks along the New Jersey shore. Yes, I realized the irony of picking up a New Jersey book while in Massachusetts. After we got a bit peopled out from the crowds, because it is Labor Day weekend, it was quite busy, we decided to head to the beach, and as a southern girl, I don't get in the water when it is under 80 degrees, and it was only 75, which while it felt very wonderful, meant no way was I going anywhere near the water, so I got comfortable and got a lot of reading done. I continued with The Very Secret Society, and it is just so cute and cozy, the perfect fall read, which obviously meant it was a little out of place as a beach read, but I still absolutely loved it. But once I hit the halfway point, of course, I had to take a break so that I could type up my thoughts and then film an update later. Luckily, I had brought another book, which was Mad, Plaid, and Dangerous to Marry by Elizabeth Essex, which is for my Bunsen Roses TBR jar. If you haven't heard about that, I'll put a link to it in the playlist up above. This one was a Highlander romance, so also not really much of a beach read, but it follows Greer, who at the start is traveling to finally meet her betrothed after 10 long years of exchanging letters. On her way though, she finds this injured man with no memory, and then once arriving to the castle, learns the terrible news that Ewan, her love, is dead. I didn't get very far in, so we'll talk about it some more later. After the beach, we got cleaned up and ended up walking around downtown until we saw a restaurant for dinner. When we got back, I was so worn out from the day, I completely passed out. The next morning, we got breakfast at the Black Dog Tavern, which I didn't know was apparently quite a popular place, before we decided to go to Tisbury for some exploring. Course included more coffee and also more books. This time, we went to Bunch of Grapes, and they had an adorable bookstore cat named Bookmark. How appropriate. I behaved and only grabbed one book again. I actually went with A Botanical Daughter, which, if I'm being honest, it's the pretty and creepy cover that won me over. But since buying it, I did see that there's a description description saying this is about two Victorian gentlemen hiding their relationship in a botanical garden and then embarking on a Frankenstein-style experiment with some unexpected consequences. And that does sound really interesting. We did a bit more exploring in that town, but it started to get kind of rainy and we all thought it'd be really nice to just head back, relax, and sit in Molly's sunroom for some reading time. I managed to work in filming a quick update for 𝗖cie heç/𝗁, meaning I could throw myself back into that adorable story. The latter half was just as cute as the first, and I really started swooning for the grumpy sunshine trope between Mika and the curmudgeonly librarian Jamie. Seeing Jamie interacting with the three kids was so damn cute, and though this book did take a few twists, I wouldn't really say anything was super surprising. The stakes are so low that even when things do get serious, it still has this light, easy feeling. I managed to finish it and actually was able to pass it along to 𝗁cie because it's her turn to annotate it. That night it was still drizzling, so we had a really low-key dinner and I was finally able to get some chowder because I was very excited for it being on the New England coast. The best part of the night though was definitely explaining some Texan traditions to Molly and seeing her hilarious expressions. Yes, this photo will be in my phone forever now. We started Labor Day driving out to this restaurant that's on an airstrip and actually got to watch the planes take off and land while eating breakfast. Then we ended up going to the 𝗖cie Cliffs, which were gorgeous, and it was so cool to learn some of the Wampanoag stories about these cliffs. There was also a lighthouse along them that we went up to see before finding our way down to 𝗖cie Beach. Very touristy, but very beautiful, highly recommend. Then we went to Island Alpaca Company, and we chose the right day because there was a baby born that morning. He was only 5 hours old when we saw him, and he was so freaking cute. We actually got to write in suggestions for names. We also saw a 10-day-old, and he was so freaking soft. Oh my gosh. Since it was our final night, we decided to have our nicest dinner, and I was so food focused that I only really got a shot of our ahi tuna nachos, but everything was amazing. We also walked around town a little bit more since it was finally quieter, and we did grab some ice cream for a final treat before heading back to pack and relax once again. Tuesday morning, 𝗁cie and I headed back for the ferry, but Molly ended up staying for a few more days, so it was a very early goodbye. To keep from falling asleep, I continued on with Mad Plaid and Dangerous to Marry. I actually started to get a bit deeper into the story, and we get to see Greer beginning to piece together what she's been told about Ewan's death, and also what she's learning about the man with amnesia that she met. She can't help connecting dots, but everybody around her keeps insisting that it's just her grief doing so. Even so, she continues to visit the injured man and does her best to help him try and regain some memories, but the more they uncover, the harder it is to deny the possibility that this might be the man she loves. Once we arrived back on the mainland, we headed right back to New York. It was a pretty long drive, but I was able to mark a new state as seen when we drove through Rhode Island, so that was fun. Thankfully, traffic wasn't too bad. We were a little nervous about that since the US Open was actually taking place in Queens, and obviously it was the end of Labor Day weekend. But thankfully got to the airport with no problems. I got through security with no issues and was able to continue reading and actually nearly finished this book on my flight back. Though there were a few twists and turns in Mad Plaid and Dangerous to Marry, I wouldn't really say anything caught me off guard. I expected a lot of the turn of events that took place, but I still had an enjoyable time reading them. However, I'm a huge fan of letters and romance stories, and I think seeing the correspondence between these two in the last 10 years really helped to convince me of a relationship between them. Sadly, I am back to normal life, but this was a really fun mini vacation. I was so glad to get to see my girls, and also I got 2 books read, so that's fantastic. On that note, thank you so much for coming along with me on vacation today, guys. As usual, all my socials are linked in the description, as well as a few ways you can support me. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a boat emoji in the comments. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!